5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Common Man's Take on Sports with Kevin and Quentin.
Alright, welcome to another episode. I think today I want to talk a little NFL. Quentin, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm feeling like talking about a little NFL.
Alright, we're getting extremely close to the end of the NFL season and some playoffs. So the playoff picture is starting to come into focus, but not just that though. There's two teams that are separating themselves in their conferences. One is the Baltimore Ravens. They have definitely separated themselves in the AFC. They're number one in my power rankings right now. They're 11-3. Their defense is not elite, but it's good enough to get them by. And their offense has completely turned a corner this year with their new offensive coordinator, Monken. He's definitely utilizing Lamar a lot better than they were last year. Lamar is definitely passing the ball some more, and there's watching their games, there's plays where last year he would take off and just run. This year he's keeping his eyes downfield. And so he doesn't always just take off and run with the ball. Sometimes he'll make that play and he'll throw the ball instead of just tucking it and running every time. He still tucks and runs, but he keeps his eyes downfield more now, and I think that makes him way more dangerous than he was before. Because just when you think he's going to run, boom, he delivers a pass, to a tight end or a receiver who's running across the route across the field.
Yeah, because if you're, when you're playing defense on Lamar Jackson, you gotta be ready because, he can run, he can throw. I mean, if it looks like he's about to throw it, he can tuck and run. If it looks like he's about to tuck and run, he can throw it. So, there's lots of different options for Lamar to do in games. Now that he has better wide receivers.
Yep. I've noticed Odell Beckham Jr. has knocked some of the rust off now. He's starting to play a lot better, and he's starting to be a playmaker for him a little bit. Not quite what he was before, but he also has had 2 injuries to that knee, so you don't expect him to be perfect, but he's doing what he needs to do to help them out for sure. And so right now, Baltimore, actually with their win last week, Baltimore sealed their spot in the playoffs. They're now guaranteed a spot in the playoffs at 11-3. Right now they're fighting for that number 1 seed, which they own currently, which means in the playoffs on the AFC side, they will own home field advantage through the playoffs if they can hang on to that number 1 seed. So that's pretty significant for them. Right behind them, you have a couple of teams. You have Miami at 10-4. You have Kansas City at 9-5. Jacksonville at 8-6. Cleveland at 9-5. Cincinnati at 8-6, and the Colts at 7-5. Now, keep in mind those last few teams, like the Colts and the Texans, could switch up. I could go back and look, but usually those last spots are kind of iffy right now. But if you look, 3 teams from one division are in the playoffs right now. Baltimore, Cleveland, and Cincinnati are all currently in the playoff picture right now. The only one not in that picture is the Steelers. So I think that speaks to how tough that division was this year. And I think that shows that Baltimore is definitely a legit contender, not just for the AFC, but I think they're a legit contender for making it to the Super Bowl, man. Baltimore has been exciting this year. Their defense has been kind of bend, don't break type of defense, but I mean, it's worked for them. They've got some good pass rushers too that have been able to get after the quarterback. Their secondary is finally healthy. They have everybody playing in the secondary. Man, they look good. Kyle Hamilton looks good. His second year. starter. He stepped up. They signed Marcus Williams last year in the free agency, so they're looking good. Baltimore looks like a legit contender for the Super Bowl right now, especially in the AFC.
Yeah, I think what's been helping the Ravens is their defense, because their defense has only been allowing like 19.1 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
So their offense has helped too, because you got a great quarterback who can run the football and throw the football. So I mean, like Lamar Jackson leads the team in rushing with 741 rushing yards as a QB.
Yep.
I mean that is some pretty good numbers, especially for a QB. He has like 3,800.
He's got 3,105 yards passing currently to date. He has 17 passing touchdowns. I think he only has 7 picks, which is good. He's got another 741 rushing yards, which leads the team again. And I'm pretty sure that he has like 3 rushing touchdowns too. Let me check on that, but pretty sure he has some rushing touchdowns. You have Gus Edwards, who's come alive this year with J.K. Dobbins being down. It took him a little bit of time to come back from his injury. He also had injury issues last year, so it took him a little bit of time to come back. But he looks like he's full go and healthy, and like he's been playing very well last few games. Then you have Zay Flowers out of the he's a rookie. He's been playing really good, along with Rashad Bateman. Now that Rashad Bateman's not the number 1 receiver, he's taken a step forward this year where teams can't just focus on him, and he's done very well. But you got Flowers right now, who has 65. He leads the team with 65 receptions for 680 yards. That's pretty good for a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, especially in your first season, that's really good, especially for a rookie.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, yeah, because you got him coming out of a college that isn't that very good of a college, but I mean, he's a really good wide receiver. And when I saw that the Ravens drafted him, I thought that he would have a pretty good season in his rookie year with the Ravens. And I mean, he's having a pretty good season.
Yeah, he looks good.
Yeah.
They made a great pick with him.
Mhm.
As we look down the list there, the Miami Dolphins are next. They're 10-4. Dolphins have been kind of hit or miss. They definitely have a dynamic offense for sure. Their offense looks good. Their defense is a bit sketchy, but it's not bad.
Mhm.
They are. I don't know if they're good enough to beat the Ravens. That's a tough one.
They do play in the regular season. Weeks. Let's see, what have we?
Do they now?
Yeah, they do. They play the Ravens in the regular season. Yeah.
Yep, you're right. 12:31. So we'll find out if they're going to beat the Ravens, won't we?
Mhm.
New Year's Eve, they play the Ravens. You're right. Good call. Good call.
Yeah, so we'll see if the Dolphins can actually beat the Ravens. I remember last time they met, that came down to the wire.
Yeah, but it was last year, and the Ravens weren't having that good of a season, and so the Ravens jumped on them quick, but then the Dolphins came back and won that game. But I think the Ravens are better this year than they were last year, definitely. So not sure, but we'll see. Hey, they'll find out on the field, won't we?
Yeah.
New Year's Eve. We'll check that out. So Miami's got a lot of offensive power, so regardless, they're going to be hard to stop. You got Tyreek Hill, you got Waddle. They're loaded on the offensive. Tua is playing well this year.
Yeah, running back Raheem Mostert, he's playing really good this year.
Yep. Yeah, they're loaded on the offensive, and for sure, Miami definitely looks good. You know, you get Tua who's thrown for 3,921 yards and 25 touchdowns. So, like you mentioned, Moser, he's at 966 yards rushing and 18 rushing touchdowns. So, man, they definitely have an explosive offense. Tyreek Hill leads the team in receiving, of course, with 1,542 receiving yards and 12 receiving touchdowns. Yeah, their offense is very potent. So it's going to take a very good defense to slow them down. They are 10-4. So we'll see what happens there. Kansas City, they've been on kind of a slide lately. They finally won one the other day, but they're 9-5. Honestly, I don't think anybody in the AFC is scared of the Chiefs like they have been the last couple of years. Their defense is a bit lackluster.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs' defense is overrated. I think Chiefs' offense is way better than their defense. But yeah, I think the problem has been probably the Chiefs' defense, to be honest.
Yeah.
Is why they're losing games.
I mean, they've only allowed 245 points scored against them. That's not bad. Just for a comparison, the Ravens have allowed 225 points scored against them, which is the lowest in the AFC. But the Chiefs aren't too far behind them. But the Chiefs seem to struggle a little bit on offense too. Patrick Mahomes has shown some frustration on offense this year, so yeah. I don't know. They're not the same as they have been in the past couple of years. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, obviously, playoffs are different. They could always turn it on in the playoffs, but that's an interesting. That's interesting that they're number 3 right now in the playoff hunt.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if they were better, they should have had. They'd probably be number 1 right now. If they didn't lose those games.
Yeah.
Like against the Buffalo Bills.
Man, the Bills ate their lunch. I watched some of that game. The Bills they dominated the Chiefs beginning to end. They took their lunch money, man. They took their lunch money.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was really crazy. That's but so that was probably the Bills' defense, and the Bills' offense just ran downfield and scored.
Mm-hmm. You got Jacksonville coming in at number 4. Jacksonville's they started off hot, then they kind of trailed off a bit. They're 8-6 now, and so I was all in on them in the beginning because they started off. They beat the Niners, didn't they?
No, they lost to the Niners 34-3.
Did they? I thought they beat them. I guess not.
Check the schedule. So I told you 34-3.
Oh, yep. Sure did.
Yeah. 49ers destroyed the Jaguars.
Yeah.
I think
I know they lost to Baltimore 23-7. Baltimore definitely shut their offense down. They barely lost to Cleveland. They barely lost to Cincinnati. They barely beat Houston. I was kind of all in the beginning. I think the Titans game was what I was thinking of. I was all in at the beginning. The Buffalo, that's who they beat in London, was Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
But as I've watched them through the season, I think they're a good team. I think Trevor Lawrence is really coming into his own. I think that they're better, and they're continuously getting better, but I just don't know if they're a threat in the AFC. They'll make the playoffs, but I don't think they're a threat to, push anybody to the brink. I'm not as sold on them as I was in the beginning.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, in the beginning, it looked like they had.
Yeah, they were rolling.
In the beginning, it looked like they could beat the Dolphins or have a close game.
Mm-hmm.
Have a close game with the Chiefs and the Ravens.
Yeah.
or win those 3 games. But right now it's not really looking like it. To be honest, I mean,
No.
the Jaguars were like 8-3 to start the season.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, then they lost 3 straight, like
Yeah.
Cleveland, Cincinnati, and then Baltimore.
Yep. Cleveland coming in at 5. Their defense is outstanding. They probably have the best defense in the NFL, I think. Let me go back and check, but I think they have the best defense in the NFL.
You think they have the best defense? Okay, so they almost won by a miracle against Chicago.
So they did beat the 49ers. The Browns did beat the Niners.
Oh yeah, they did.
But the Browns have got some good wins.
The Niners lost Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuel
In that game, that's true. And Trent Williams.
Yeah,
that is very true.
Yeah, they lost 3 stars. So.
But I still think Cleveland is better than people think, and they are 9-5.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they got 9-5.
They beat Jacksonville. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Broncos. They beat the Steelers. They beat the Ravens. You know that, right?
Yeah, just by 2 points. Just by 2 points.
They did lose Deshaun Watson, though, I think the next game against the Cardinals.
No, they lost Deshaun Watson that Ravens game.
Was it?
Yeah, the Ravens game.
No, he's got stats in the Cardinals game right there. 219
no, I said
yards.
The Ravens.
Oh, right. You're right. That was before. That was after. You're right. They did lose in that Ravens game.
Yeah, like in that second half or something.
You know what's insane? Is they hired the Ravens' old quarterback. They signed Joe Flacco, and he's killing it for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's
back-to-back 300-yard games. Woo!
I mean, I don't know how he's doing this when he's like 30. I don't know how he's doing this when he's like 40-something years old. I don't know how he can put up stats like that.
They beat the Colts. They beat the 49ers. They split with the Ravens. The Ravens destroyed them the first game, 28-3. And the second game, they paid the Ravens back. They beat the Ravens 33-31. I still think the Browns are sneaky good. I think their defense always gives them a chance to win games and stay in the game. Defenses travel too. You know, when you're going to when it gets colder, you're going to a place where you got to play in the cold weather. Defenses travel for sure.
To be honest,
so I don't think they're a threat to go to the Super Bowl, but I think they might break somebody's heart there in the playoffs with that defense. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I mean, I don't know how the Browns are not over the Jaguars because they beat them and they have a better record.
Well, it's because the Jaguars are leading their division right now.
No,
I believe.
Yeah, they are.
Let's see.
Or are they tied?
Well, I think they own the. Let's check it out. But I think they own the tiebreakers against. Yeah. So they own the tie. They beat the Colts twice. They beat the Texans twice, and for sure they beat the Titans twice.
No, they lost to the Texans at week 2.
Did they?
Yeah. Or.
I'm pretty sure that's why they're leading their division because they own the tiebreaker against everybody.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they split with the Texans.
They may have because they have one division loss, so maybe that's the Texans' loss.
Yeah, week 2.
Let's have a look. I can tell you. We'll pull up their schedule right here. So let's scroll back. Here we go.
Yeah.
So they beat the Colts twice. They lost third game of the year to the Texans. You're right. And then they turn around and beat the Texans.
So that's split.
End of November. So they did split with them. I'm pretty sure they beat the Titans twice. I wonder if the Texans lost to another division foe twice, and that's why Jacksonville's ahead of them.
No, they beat the Titans. I'm pretty sure they beat the Colts at least once.
I don't know, but Jacksonville's in the head. I'll have to look into that, but they're still leading that division right now.
Oh, I lost the Colts. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, they have 2 division losses. The Texans do. That's why they've lost twice in the division. The Jaguars have only lost once, so that's why they're leading that division at 8-6. So there you have it.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Yep. So I think the Browns are sneaky good with that defense. I don't think they're a threat to make it to the Super Bowl, but they have a very, very good defense, which will always give you an opportunity to win, right?
Mhm.
So I think the defense helps them. And back-to-back 300-yard games by Flacco. Man, if he keeps playing like that, you never know. They may be a threat for the Super Bowl.
I mean, I don't know how he's passing for like 300 yards, 400 yards, because he's like 40-something years old.
Is Flacco that old? Maybe he is.
Yeah, he is. He's been playing since like the early 2000s.
Not
20.
quite. He came. What did he? Let's see. I can tell you when he started. He is older. I don't know if he's in his 40s.
Well, probably late 30s.
That's funny. Joe Flacco. He's 38.
Yeah.
38. There you go. So he's not in his 40s yet. Not yet. He's getting there. Not yet. He's playing pretty good for the Browns.
Oh yeah, I guess he's still got it.
So the Bengals, without Joe Burrow, they're not going anywhere.
I mean, they have.
They're if they make the playoffs, which they might. They're 8-6.
I mean, they've been rolling because they won 2 straight.
Yeah, but they're not. Without Burrow, they're not they're not a threat to anybody. That's just my assessment, my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just without a playmaker like that, I know they got the best wide receiving core in the NFL, but I think they lose in the first round without Burrow, and that's just
that's true.
honest opinion.
The
Colts, the Colts aren't that good either at number 7. To be honest, I think that they could be bumped out of that 7th spot.
Yeah, by like the Texans or the.
Yeah, they're not even a lock right now. Nobody's a lock except for the Ravens currently in the AFC.
Yeah.
So as we stroll down here to the NFC, we got the other team that separated themselves from the pack and who is definitely a threat to make the Super Bowl from the NFC side, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. Not only do they have a devastating defense, but they also have a ton of playmakers in offense. Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel. I know I'm missing somebody. They're loaded with playmakers over there. And Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
Brock Purdy is the epitome of a game manager. However, I mean, with that team, that's all you got to be, man. Just take care of the football, make the right play, not to turn it over or not to put the football in danger.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. That's all you got to do, and that's what he's done.
They have some pretty good receivers too. Like they have Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They got playmakers all over the field. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I said I was probably missing somebody, but yeah, they got playmakers all over that field. 100%. The Niners.
On the defensive side of the ball, they have Chase Young, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner. They have some good defensive players.
Oh yeah, they have a solidified defensive line.
Yeah, ever since they made that trade for Chase Young, it's just been great defense for the San Francisco 49ers.
They got Eric Armstead, Alex Burnett, Nick Bosa, Kelly Davis, Clelin Farrell. He's been great this year. They're loaded, absolutely loaded. Fouls at linebacker, I'm not arguing with you one bit. They are absolutely loaded. Dre Greenlaw at linebacker. They got everything you could ask for offensively and defensively. They definitely look very, very good. They're definitely a threat to win the NFC and make it to the Super Bowl for sure. They're tough. Defense again travels, so you always have that. I'm definitely my two favorite teams. Right, my favorites right now to make the Super Bowl are the Ravens and the Niners. Kind of a rematch of the 2012 Super Bowl, where the two Harbaugh brothers were the coaches of each team. Obviously, Jim has moved on and is no longer the coach of the Niners. But that's my two right now. As I see it, those are the two teams that definitely have the best odds of making the Super Bowl. Both are 11-3, and actually on Christmas Day, we might even get a Super Bowl preview, because guess who plays on Christmas Day?
The Ravens and the Niners.
That's right. I will be watching that game. That is going to be a very good game.
Yep.
The one thing I think that the Ravens can do to give the San Francisco 49ers trouble is the fact that Lamar Jackson is multi-dimensional. He can run, he can throw. He's been a lot more accurate with the football. He can throw on the run. Like, he is a threat. You have to account for him at all times. If you don't, he's been making incredible throws too. Like, even under duress, he's been making complete incredible passes. So the only thing that is good for the 49ers is sometimes he tries to do too much and he turns the ball over. He doesn't have a lot of picks, but the ones that he's thrown are kind of head scratchers. And, you're just kind of like, come on, Lamar, you're better than that. So every once in a while he tries to do too much and he turns the ball over. If the Niners win that game, that's the way they're going to win it, is turning, the Baltimore over. Getting turnovers and creating a short field for their offense. But I think it's going to be a very evenly matched game. I think it's going to be a very, very good game to watch. And I think it's going to be very tough for both teams. Moving on down the list. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm really excited for this game because of the defense.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think this might be a defensive game, to be honest.
I think so too. I think you're right. It's going to be a defensive struggle.
Yeah, but if Lamar Jackson can do the right things and not try to do too much, then the Ravens will probably win. But
the one thing that helps the Ravens against San Francisco is that even though they have McCaffrey and George Kittle and Deebo Samuel, they have some very, very athletic linebackers in coverage. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, both of them are very fast, and both of them can get end to end very fast. So that's definitely a good thing for the Ravens, because the 49ers definitely use McCaffrey, Samuel, Kittle. They use all those guys in space. Ayuk, they use them all in space, right? So Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen are definitely both going to have to be on the top of their game and definitely use their speed and their physical ability to keep those guys in check. Because there's going to be times where Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith are going to be on Christian McCaffrey, and they're going to have to either keep up with him or make that stop, when he catches the ball.
Yeah, and you got to play the zone because, the 49ers have good receivers like Deebo Samuel. You got good tight end George Kittle, and they got another good receiver, Brandon Ayuk. So those three guys could have really been useful throughout the season. And I think the 49ers are probably going to use those guys a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
And the Ravens are going to need to play some zone, like Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, Marcus Williams, going to have to really play some good defense. The Ravens going to have to really have some good defense against the 49ers offense, which is like one of the best offenses in the NFL.
Yep. So we move on down the list to the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys have been inconsistent at best this year. I know they did lose one of their best defensive contributors for the season, but they're iffy. Man, they lose games they shouldn't be losing. They're 10-4. Man, I don't know. I can't trust the Cowboys because every time you trust them, they do what Dallas does, and they whiff. So right now, for me, Dallas Cowboys are a prove it team, right? You're gonna have to prove it to me before I put stock in what you're doing. They've got some good wins, but again, they're losing games they shouldn't lose. Honestly, right now in the playoffs, if they're playing the Niners, I'm not picking the Cowboys. I'm not even sure if I'd pick them against the Lions.
Well, I mean, the Cowboys played the Niners this season and they lost like 42 to something.
Yeah. Yep. So
it was ugly.
Yep.
I mean, especially against the Lions, that's like, if they did play the Lions, that'd be a tricky pick, but I'd probably pick the Lions. But if the Lions did play the Cowboys, they need to play some good defense, and not let Dak Prescott throw the football, because Dak Prescott doesn't usually run.
So, yeah.
So you gotta play. So if you're facing the Cowboys, you gotta play some zone, and then you gotta run, and then you gotta play some man coverage to get to Dak, because you gotta cover all his open receivers, and you gotta put him on pressure. So you're gonna need to do that against the Cowboys because Dak doesn't really run. So that'd be that's kind of the problem with Dallas. Dak can't run. So if all of his open targets are covered, what's he gonna do? I don't know.
I don't know.
He's gonna have to make decisions that he hasn't made before. Like run the football and do something.
Yeah. For me, the Cowboys, just when you think they've turned a corner, they do what Dallas does, and they
disappoint.
Yep. Next on our list is Detroit at number 3. They started off the season hot, then they kind of went on a cold spell. They really disappointed me in that Chicago game and the Green Bay game on Thanksgiving. I'm not sure if I can trust the Lions either. I think they're a good team, but their defense is not as good as I thought it was.
Yeah, I mean, they had like probably 10 opportunities to sack Justin Fields, and they couldn't get to him.
Nope.
And then when they had the opportunities and couldn't get to him, he just ran the football. He ran for like 20 or more yards.
Oh yeah, he tore him up running.
Yeah, he tore him up passing too. So
yep.
And the Bears defense just destroyed the Lions offense.
Yep. So I know they've had some injuries on their offensive line, but still, like I don't know. If Detroit and Dallas played, I'd pick Detroit, but man, I don't know. Detroit is not. They're struggling a little bit too. Yeah. Number 4, Tampa Bay. They're 7-7. They're in a horrible division. I don't really think they're that good. I think they're first round. They're going to lose in the first round. I'm just not buying into them. The one team that surprised me though was the Eagles. Man, they were on a roll for a long time, and all of a sudden they've lost like 3 in a row.
Yeah,
they're now 10-4, and they're struggling.
Yeah, like one time in the season they were undefeated, lost the Jets.
Yeah.
One time in the season they only had 1 loss. Well, they lost 49ers, they lost the Cowboys.
Yeah, I was going to say, the Cowboys ate their lunch in the last game they played.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was horrible.
Yeah, it was just horrible. Cowboys destroyed the Eagles, and then the 49ers came to town and destroyed the Eagles.
Yep.
So, I mean, the Eagles got to figure something out because, something's wrong in Philly. It's probably, to be honest, it's looking like their defense is the part because, you know, they're against big teams like Dallas and the San Francisco. They've been allowing like 40-something points. So I think the main problem here is their defense, and then their offense just can't get going.
Yep.
So so the Eagles need to figure something out because they were once like number 1 in the NFC, and now they're number 5.
Yep.
So they need to figure something out, or else they're not going to have a good season.
I think Dallas is in the lead of that division now.
Yeah.
Minnesota is next. They're not. They're just a bad team in a bad division. The best team in that division is Detroit Lions. Minnesota at 7-7. They're not a threat to do anything. They'll be a first-round loss. And then you have the Rams, who really aren't that good this year either. At 7-7, coming in at the 7th spot. Neither of those teams are a threat to do anything. Really, not worried about either one of them. Both of them could be bumped out of the playoff also. So
yeah, I mean, like the Vikings could be bumped by the Saints, who are still in that race. You know, I'm pretty sure they're number 8 in the NFC. So yeah, the Saints could bump them, but I think the Saints will probably be, might be a first-round loss, but I mean, you never know. But yeah, the Vikings or the Rams could get bumped by the Saints or Falcons. No, Falcons are done. Falcons are definitely done.
yeah, Falcons are 6-8. They haven't been eliminated, but they won't make it.
Yeah, I mean, but
Seahawks are still 7-7.
Yeah, Seahawks.
Saints are still 7-7.
Mhm.
You have that's it. That's really the only teams that are a threat to bump them. So we'll see how it continues to go. But the season's almost over. There's only a few games left. It's been an interesting season to watch. I've enjoyed watching it thus far. There's been a lot of good games. Definitely ready to watch this down the stretch. There's only 3 games left in the season, so we'll see how those pan out. But there's going to be some teams that are finally going to seal their spot in the playoffs, and some that aren't.
Yeah, I think the playoff races are heating up in the AFC especially because you've got teams that might be bumped, like the Colts might be bumped. Got the Texans out there. You got the Bills out there, Steelers out there. You got lots of teams in the AFC that could bump the Bengals or Colts. Most likely the Colts.
All right. That's our show today, talking about the NFL and kind of where we're at with that. Our next show, we're going to talk about the early recruiting signing period for college football open today. A lot of movement, a lot of surprises. We will talk about that in our next episode and kind of cover what went down on that front. But until then, we thank you everybody for listening. We appreciate you guys. We hope that you hit that like and subscribe button. Continue to watch us. Continue to follow our show. Until next time, have a good night.